One of the more serious things that's going on in the American economy and the global economy, which sort of a few experts are talking about here and there, is the implications of low growth for retirement, for savings. A few people you listen to or read about think there's a huge crisis in the future where we won't have enough money to take care of older people when they retire. And it leads you to reflect on one of the great contributions of capitalism over the last 200 years is to build up a middle class and provide for a middle class through retirement. And how did that happen? I would suggest basically through growth. If you have economies that are growing 2%, 3% a year, steady state for 30, 40, 50 years, you can build up savings accounts. The value of your house will go up. You can invest in stocks and other things. Bonds will be paid off. They won't lose their face value. But it all depends on actual real growth. Since the collapse of credit markets in 2008, even though governments of the world and central banks have generated trillions of dollars of new, if you will, paper money, liquidity in various ways, to keep the economies of the world chugging, the pistons going up and down, we have not seen a lot of good growth. The last several months in the United States, our growth is beginning to inch up. The Federal Reserve just yesterday here in the United States increased interest rates by a smidgen as a sign of confidence that the growth is coming back. But if you look at Europe, if you look at unemployment, if you look at growth rates, if you look at increase in debt, a lot of the numbers are indicating that economies are not growing. The global economy is not growing. Trade is down in terms of volume and dollars. So what does this mean? This means where's the growth going to come from to support savings accounts, growth in savings, growth in retirement funds. The very large and influential retirement fund in California called CalPERS is now trespassing, or I'm sorry, it's tiptoeing very slowly, very cautiously to sort of warn people that the returns are not going to be out there in the out years. They have set for themselves officially a return on investments every year of 7.5%. So at that point, they can double their money roughly every 13 years. So if you're a young person entering the workforce and you're working for the state of California or one of the CalPERS entities, and you're 20 years old and they grow at 7.5% a year, when you retire 40 years from now, there will be some money there to take care of you. But what if the growth rate is going to be 1.5% or 2%? Where is CalPERS going to be able to get investment returns to generate 7% annual returns back to back for 40 years? And if it can't do that, what money is going to be there for you when you're 60, 65, 70, 75? And most people now predict the younger millennials feel they're not going to be able to retire the way their parents or grandparents did at 60 or 65. They may actually have to keep working into their 80s just to get cash because the economy is not generating savings. So the question is, how can we take care of retirement under these economic conditions? And secondly, is capitalism a failure? Are we in some new era where the promise of capitalism will not be realized because of institutional things that we don't understand yet? I have some worry that this second point may have more reality to it than we like to think. Structural changes are happening, and if we cannot generate real growth, not paper growth because the governments are putting more money into financial systems and the prices of stock grow up because only a few people, really relatively few people, can buy stock or trade derivative instruments or something. But if your underlying growth rate 1.5 to 2.5%, that's going to be very serious in its negative consequences out 10, 15, 20 years.